All right, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about making 100K plus, 6 figures in the fitness industry, depending on where you are, whether you're in the independent sphere. In my opinion, that's probably the easiest. Once you're an advanced trainer, I'm not gonna talk at all about being an influencer or having lots and lots of followers. I know nothing about that. I only know about the real, true groundwork in actual facilities, working with real people. And I've been doing this for the better part of 2 decades professionally as a certified fitness professional. So I don't know about booty shorts and all the, if you're a 17, 18, 19-year-old female who wants to sell her body and call herself a fitness professional and have God first quotes and stuff like that, I don't know anything about how to do that. But if you are passionate about fitness and you want to help people and you're interested in making a very good living at it, I know all about that. I've been at this since 2004. I've been passionate and obsessed, frankly, with fitness. I didn't know it was a career path opportunity when I was a kid, but I've been thinking about it, obsessing about it for over 30 years. And I've been making a very good living at it for the last 16, I guess it's been. So 6 figures or more. I mean, you could, sky's the limit, really. When you start getting into membership bases and so forth, you can start getting up into the 7-figure plus range. I'm not a big fan of the corporate career pathing. I had that opportunity at 2 very large organizations and did not pursue it at either because, frankly, I made more as a coach than most executives at those companies make to this day. At some point in time, I can do in this series showcase my last year there, last full year at the one organization where I think I made about 125,000 that year, which is great. But then you go into the independent sphere, and in the first 10 days in the independent sphere, I made, I think you can see this here up top. So this is my business bank account balance after 10 days in business in the independent sphere. So I made about 40 grand in 10 days versus 125,000, slaving for a giant company for an entire year. And man, there's so much to cover. And I've learned so much since. This year, this is at the height of the pandemic, April of this year. Also had a pretty good run this year. So at the height of the pandemic, let's see here. This is my, here's my business checking balance on, oh, I'm sorry, May, not April. So still during lockdown, so forth. So in May, let's see, I don't know if, let me see if I can get this visible. So here's my business checking. You can see some of the deposits there. So about 40 grand in a weekend. It's like 3 days of transactions, something like that. And so I know how to, this is from one-on-one interactions mostly. I train some couples. I do professional coaching for people, work with them on becoming more solid professionals, fitness professionals. But that's what these numbers represent. So this is not like YouTube hits or endorsement deals from having lots of followers on Instagram or something like that. I don't understand that business. And frankly, I don't really have time for it because I make a very good living doing the real thing. So I'm just gonna talk to the real thing, and tell you a little bit about my experience and then what you can do, depending on where you are, within the parameters that you have available to you, to go as far as you want. So if I've hired and developed hundreds of people over the years. I've coached thousands. And some people, they want it to be a side gig. Some people, they want it to be their full-time situation and they're good at 40, 50, 60 grand a year. Other people, they've got a family of 4 to support, like I do, and for them it feels oftentimes like scraping by to make 250,000 or more just between business expenses. And once you're carrying your own private insurance, all of a sudden making $300,000 a year doesn't seem like that much money. And that might sound outrageous or even obnoxious to some people, but I'll tell you what, when you have an $80,000 max out of pocket and you spend it on private insurance and your premiums add up to be about $40,000 a year, so you're spending $120,000 a year just on basic medical expenses, and then you run a business that between rent and so forth costs you about $60,000 a year, and you look at, you got $180,000 worth of basic expenses per year. All of a sudden $300,000 doesn't look like quite so much. So I can't help you with the expense side of things. I am just in a place in my life right now where my expenses are higher than most people I know of, let alone know. But I am a master of the top line revenue, and I can help you with, with that side of things. So let's say you're at a big box club and you've been kicking around the 40 to 60 grand mark for a number of years. If we're starting like base level, you're just interested in the fitness industry, you don't have any background, you're not certified yet, you don't have any work experience, that's like for another time. I'm speaking more so to the intermediate to advanced professional who's really not tapped into their earning potential yet, right now, in this video. So let's say that you had a couple of good years. For you, it's between 55, 75, but normally you're kicking around 40 to 60 grand. So you've seen kind of what it's going to take, hours-wise, charge rate, and so forth. My advice to most people at this juncture, if they're ready for the growth anyway, is to get themselves sort of prepared for a season of intensity. So get yourself ready to work more than what you think is reasonable. And what happens with that is you reach a point of being overbooked such that you have to raise your charge rate. So it's not even so much that like you're trying to raise your charge rate, it's just normal supply and demand. You get to the point where you can only, I've worked 110 hours in the fitness industry in a week before, 110 hours, about 80 hours at Bally's at the peak. In 2008, I was recovering a club, and I was still training full time while I'm managing and recovering a club, and we were trying to launch anytime. I mean, we did franchise anytime, but the credit markets imploded. So I'm on conference calls clandestinely, surreptitiously, plotting, planning the business plan for our SBA loan and everything else, and at least 30 hours a week going into that, and then 80 hours a week going into working at Bally's. I don't even know of other people who worked as hard as that in the fitness industry. And it was a failed year, by the way. 2008, we lost like $100,000 because of all the business expenses that went into it, and we couldn't get funding in the end. And I recovered this club, and then Bally's sold it anyway on an easement to a car dealership for $5 million. Of course, I didn't get a cut of that. And so it was just a brutal year, working every single week that year. I've learned a lot since then, and I can help people go very far with this and avoid many of the mistakes that I made along the way, just overextending myself basically. So that's my first ask for people, which may sound a little ironic, but to overextend yourself, to overbook, go farther than you think is really possible or prudent. And you're not going to do it indefinitely, but it's for a period of time to really, one, give you an appreciation for how good you had it in the past, and give you a better idea of what it's really going to take to be in that 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 plus per year in your current environment. And granted, there are some pay schedules and bonus compensation structures and so forth that might make this very difficult, maybe even impossible in some structures, I'm sure. LA Fitness probably can't happen. So you are gonna have to go to a place where it can happen. If you're already in the independent sphere and you haven't logged a ton of in-club experience, it's gonna be a little bit tougher of a go. By the time I did that, I had a vast network, and I'd gotten to observe thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of successful, moderately successful, and unsuccessful trainers and membership sales representatives and so forth. So I had lots of archetypes of what not to do, what worked a little and what worked really great by the time I went into the independent sphere. And then in that 10 days, I was able to get $40,000 worth of sales, 39,000, whatever it was, and also create a salary, a revolving monthly income. And to the point where now I have a very predictable income in the independent sphere, and still, though, I have these outlier months like in May with just more than a lot of people make in a year in like a weekend or a week or a month. So overbook yourself. That'd be step one. If you're already established, you've got certs, you're knowledgeable, you have good rapport, you've got a cadre of clients, then overbook yourself. You've got to do that. And I'm shocked at how few people do this. I was so fortunate that when I started off in the fitness industry, I had brilliant mentors. I had these people who were really outgoing and charismatic and energetic, and the one guy in particular, super charismatic, super outgoing, brilliant guy, just fun dude, and failing miserably when I first met him. So he put in probably 3 to 6 months just slaving, giving out workouts and doing assessments, and at that point in his life, he had been a very successful salesperson, so he was just good at communications and everything else, and he was failing abysmally. He had like no sales, I think, when the first month or so that we knew one another, and then all of a sudden it paid off. But what I learned from that right away was you must overextend yourself to find a resting point or a maintenance point that's around where you really probably want to go. I run into this with regular clients, weight loss clients and so forth over the years too. And if you've been working as a fitness professional, you know this well. If somebody really needs to lose 30 pounds, you're best off losing 40 or 50 or whatever it is, and being too strict and getting too far. And that way, when they settle into a maintenance program, they'll really be dialed into where it is they want to be, where they wanted to be in the first place. But what you see most people do in the world is they've got 40 pounds to lose. They start patting themselves on the back at 5, 10, 15 pounds, and they let up the reins. They become less strict. They regain that weight and then some, usually. And I think the same happens in business development. I know the same happens in professional development and among trainers, is they're like, okay, I want to get to a $10,000 a month rolling average, $15,000, $20,000 a month rolling average, whatever it is in sales, or I want to get to, they do the leads to conversion, to clients, to dollars, and we can go through that for newbies, and they figure out what it is they're going to have to do hourly wise to achieve their income goals or income need, and then they get to maybe 50 to 75% of that, and they feel pretty comfortable, or they get to 80% and they feel highly successful, which is kind of laughable, but it's the average. It's what most people end up doing in all of life, in their relationships, in their businesses, and everything. They have a goal, and they see a trajectory that's moving towards, one of the steps within that goal. Hell, they're lucky if they get into the 50 to 75%. Most people start hitting the brakes or taking their foot off the gas anyway at like 10%. They see, I'm making decent progress, and they can visualize that this is just going to kind of keep taking them to the goal, which it isn't, and then they ease up. So that's number one. Number one is you got to overbook yourself. You have to go farther than what you think makes good sense, and then you'll be able to settle back into whatever it is. So I'm not saying work 110 hours or 80 hours or whatever, but maybe, and certainly more than you've done. Overbook yourself such that you have to raise your price. And we can have a whole conversation about how you're going to disclose that and communicate that to existing clients, new clients, what you're going to do, what makes sense as far as loyalty and rewarding that with people. You know, if you have somebody who's been with you 10 years and you're charging them $80 a session, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to move them to $150 if that's where you're going to be going, if that's what you're going to be worth. But maybe it does. You know, it's very varied for different people. There's peers of mine who have such a high charge rate hourly. Now I kind of work it more like a retainer with my clients. So we do calculate it on an hourly in essence, but it's more like they predictably need to know what they're going to be spending for their health and wellness for life or for a few years. I don't really work with people for less than 3 to 5 years. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense to coach people for less than about 3 years, because if you're going to see them through the seasons of life and understand how they shoot themselves in the foot and how they operate at their best, bare minimum, you need to go through 2 years. You have to see them go through the holidays and what they do and what their modes are, so that you can get them to be honest with themselves. People who come in for 6 months or 12 months, they have no dedication to this whatsoever. It's just like you can't coach those people. The 90-day transformations and 6 months and all that bullshit, it makes no sense whatsoever. And you'll see that those people fall into the same trap. I have had people come in, and I communicate this to everybody at the outset now. It's like, listen, I don't work with people for like a 10-day transformation or some stupid ass thing like that. Like, we're talking about revising your life and making you the most powerful version of yourself that we can possibly do. And people will sign up. We have that conversation, and they're like, yes, this is what I want to do. And we'll go infrequently so that they can plot that out. And then at 6 months or 3 months or whatever, they back out. They were still thinking about it, like all the basic bitches out there who want to do 12-week transformations and stuff. There's no staying power to that. So that's the other thing too. You have to be meaningful in the fitness industry. Now, I'm sure I know that it's possible to be very successful and have no moral compass whatsoever. There's lots of people in the fitness industry who do this, who sell 10-week transformations, 12-week transformations, whatever it is. That's their whole business model. And they have tons and tons and tons of testimonials. They have no 5-year, 10-year testimonials, because the methodology is at odds with that. But what I can speak to from my experience being a real fitness professional who really works with actual humans and does it for a long enough period of time to actually have an impact on their lives, not just lose a couple of pounds. Any dumbass can lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. That's not why you need to go work with fitness professionals. You need to be honest with yourself. Almost everybody is lying to themselves at so many levels all the time, every day, day in and day out, and that's why they aren't successful at things. They're telling themselves all kinds of lies that are disempowering and producing the outcomes that they see. That's really where we're valuable. So number one, you're gonna have to overextend yourself a little bit. Number two, you've gotta seek the genuine. Now, if you wanna do it in a disingenuous manner, I can't speak to that. I don't know how to. I see people who make money that way. I've known a lot of people in the fitness industry who just do these dumbass transformations and just like piles and piles of 8-week testimonials, 6-week testimonials, 3-month testimonials. And you can certainly go that path, and you will be forgotten in history. You'll be just like everybody else. You'll be like the Body for Life guy, Bill Phillips, or whoever, all this dumb stuff that, it works until you go to 5 years, 10 years. Then it doesn't work. That means it doesn't work. Anybody, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, you name it, everybody's got 12-week testimonials. There's nothing special about that whatsoever, folks. Please get past that. The first 4 months that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, I understood fitness and nutrition science and so forth, but I entered the fitness industry. I don't understand the fitness industry in the first 4 months that I'm working in it. 2000, the end of 2004 going into the beginning of 2005. But I was wildly successful right away just because I saw other people that interacted with a lot of people, overextended themselves, right? Just like worked with a lot of people. And I believed in finding solutions for people that were really gonna work. But even at that point, at 4 months, I probably already had 5 to 10, just like killer testimonials about 12-week transformations, 6-week transformations, 4-week transformations. And, that was 16 years ago. I know 10,000 times more about fitness now than I did then. And at that point, had I wanted to go that route, I could have had the stupid booklet, the portfolio, the online website, whatever, just piles and piles and piles of 6-week, 8-week, 12-week, 10-week testimony, 4-week testimonials, whatever it is. That's not valuable. Yes, people will pay for it. Yeah, absolutely. You want to get to $100,000 plus and sleep at night and believe in what you do, that's not the route to go. So sure, you can make millions of dollars. There's all kinds of people who've got these, they have these membership access, web pages, Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, and so forth. And they sell these ebooks and everything else. And it's not to say it's all garbage. It's not all garbage, but I can't speak to that. That's not my expertise. My expertise is actually working with people, helping them confront themselves with their lack of truth with themselves, and developing better life. Yeah, we'll lose pounds. We'll get stronger. We'll help you manage stress. But you're going to have a better life. You're going to have a much better life. You're just going to be a better person. And if you can do that, if you can overextend yourself for a period of time, and you can seek maximal value for people, just those two things, you will trip over 6 figures. You'll just trip over it, okay? Once you're in the right landscape. So if you're at an LA Fitness that's paying you $12 a session or something like that, well, yeah, calculate it out. It's not going to happen even if you overextend yourself, even if you're the, whatever they call them. They're not fitness directors. They're whatever the lead trainer is. I don't know enough about the corporate gyms anymore to speak to all of those different systems. I just know that it could be done at 2 of the biggest fitness clubs where I worked, and I did it. I just happened to have been so much more successful in the independent sphere, and with a schedule that makes more sense, where I can be with my kids every single day, and I can be with them all day, 3-4 days a week, and I can really do what I need to do with my coaching business in 3 to 4 days in a given week, which won't be the case in the corporate sphere. In the corporate sphere, it's going to own you 6-7 days a week easily, and probably even on vacations nowadays because we're so hyper connected. So that's a topic for another time. But as far as just like getting to the 6-figure mark, getting past the 6-figure mark, you'll have to overextend yourself a little bit, one, and you've got to seek that maximal value. And there's a lot more that could be said about it, obviously, in terms of continuing to build value, continuing to grow, and having an excitement for education and learning and this ebullience with the clients. I can't necessarily teach that. That's kind of like who I am. I can talk about it, I guess, to a certain extent. But then the 6 figures just sort of makes sense. If you want to scale up another, 7, 8 figures, that's getting into membership bases and probably a little bit of the exploring the follower kind of stuff, which I've been loath to do, and frankly I don't want to allocate the time for it and don't need to. That's probably good for intermediate trainers. Achieving and exceeding the 6-figure mark, overextend oneself. We can get into finer details down the road, but that would be the starting point. Overextend oneself and then seek maximal value. And you can do acute calculations as well. This is what I make hourly, this is how many hours that would be through the course of the year, and then the backwards engineering off of that. How do I get to, how many people with whom do I have to do follow-ups and meet and greets and consults and so forth to get to that number of billable hours in a given week, and then it's very straightforward. But the undergirding, the foundation to that is there's gonna have to be a little bit of overextension for sure, and you can't simply be in this just be making money. There has to be a deep value, a purpose. Passion's great, be passionate, but take that to its logical consequence, which is the full development of self in order to be maximally valuable to people. And as I said, where that really lies is in the long run. So yeah, short-term transformations, cool, people will pay for that, they value it in that sense, but that's not maximal value. You go across the testimonials out there, and the most famous celebrity, fitness professionals, whatever, they don't have 10-year transformation stories. They don't have 15-year transformation stories. I do, and I have peers who do. But these people with like 3 million followers, 10 million followers, whatever, they've never worked with somebody for that long because they've never been able to really. Some of them haven't even worked in the industry long enough to, and why would they? If they sell memberships that are based on 12-week transformations, how would they even have encountered that? So it's supremely rare, which in my mind anyway makes it infinitely valuable. And that's really, I think, that may be more my niche, but that's where I see a lack of service. So if you can begin to hone, if you can speak to that and you can begin to hone that vision for your coaching business, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's a simple path to get to as much as you want to make, frankly. All right, good luck out there.